Hey everyone, Brian and Jeff with WorkshopAddict.com, and we're going to take a look at Ridgid's Octane Brushless 18 volt 4.5 inch angle grinder, model number R86042B. Now if you're a Ridgid guy or not, I think you really have to respect this new Ridgid Octane line.
All the tools in the Octane line, they're really bumping up the performance in them, and they're making them comparable to your high-end tools.
Yeah, the top tier line that we see and most of the Ridgid tools are either performing equally, or the Ridgid might bump them out just slightly.
Just slightly.
Now this tool here is something that I think is more than a lot of people are going to expect. When you pick up this tool, you see the power, you feel how it works, and then the runtime that you're getting with the Octane batteries, it's awesome. Let's go through some quick specs. First, this is a 10,000 RPM no load. You do have a slide switch with a lock-on that's located on the top. Just above that is an LED light that tells you if you're getting close to overload or if you have overloaded the tool. And let's talk about that a little bit.
Which, like you were saying earlier, it's just one more thing to kind of draw your eyes off of what you're doing. It's not a necessity.
No, what we were learning while we're using this tool is that this light will actually flash quite often, in some cases more often than what you would think.
But none of the other tools that we've tried have this light, so you don't know where you're at anyway.
Right, so in some ways it made us feel like this tool wasn't as powerful as it was because we'd see the, hey, you're close to overload, but we could push the tool further and further and further beyond even where we were, and it kept going.
Before it would actually shut down.
Yeah, to shut this tool down, it took a significant amount of force, but that light came on quite a bit more before we got to even that point.
And are they using it as a warning light, or?
The instructions say when the light flashes, relieve some pressure because you're close to overload.
Right.
Or if the tool shuts down, it will flash letting you know you overload the tool, turn the tool off, and turn the back on. It's an interesting way of going about it. I personally think that that would be best left to, hey, you overloaded the tool, turn me off, turn me back on. Don't give me the, hey, you're close to overload, unless I'm really close.
And which, when we were using it, we kind of ignored it.
Yeah.
Because it wouldn't, it's just a flashing light, but it didn't lose power. We weren't overloading it unless you were really forcing it and you shut it off.
Now we're spending a ton of time on a LED light here that is really meaningless in the whole scope of the tool, but that could probably tell you how good this tool is.
We want you to know that that light is not going to deter me from buying this tool.
Well, the power that we see, if you ignore that red light, the power that we see, I would put this in the top 3 that we've used.
Exactly.
So ignoring the light. When you look at the light and you're like, okay, I'm close to overloading it, then it brings me down a bit. But ignore the light. If you see it, know the light's there, know what it's trying to tell you, but learn the tool, like we say with every single tool. Learn the tool, learn where you're going to find that overload, and it's going to be far beyond the point where that light starts flashing. So moving beyond that, you do have a 3-position handle. The handle is at 90 degrees. You have it on the right and left side, but also on the top, which is an interesting way to go for someone who might be fatigued, or it would work good for a lefty.
Ambidextrous, whatever.
However you're at, weird positions, it's there. You do have a tool-free guard adjustment on the bottom that is awesome. Moves in all kinds of different areas.
And it has a greater swing than a lot of the grinders on the market.
The dust or the protection for bringing in the dust screens are in back behind your hand, which they're semi-protected, but you can see here they're still quite covered with stuff. We use this quite a bit in fabricating a bumper and also doing some more cutting wheel tests. We use this guy with almost every battery out there, and there is a difference with the Octane batteries.
The Octanes, granted you have your runtime difference between the 3.6 and the 9s, but it ran great on the standard battery. It's just slight drop in power.
So no matter what you have, even if you have this just the standard 5 amp hour batteries and you haven't upgraded to the Octanes, I would still put this on a must buy over top of the other standard Ridgid. You are 40% increase in power. I think it's very significant.
Definitely.
And then runtime, if you get to the Octane batteries, is even probably the same significance. So it's right up there. Now we, again, continued some cutting with some cutting wheels, and we're just testing cutting wheels, figuring out what's the best in the shop. Again, cutting some spring steel. We started out with the DeWalt blade,
Which was mediocre at best.
which is interesting. When you compare these blades, I expected this one to come out and cut really well. And it was fair, but
It
was
is
not.
slightly thicker than the other two.
It wore well, but
Yes.
it didn't cut as well.
It didn't cut as fast.
So then the next blade we threw on was a Diablo that we used in testing a little bit before. It worked well again. It looked like it cut
works
well.
slightly better than the DeWalt.
It wore faster by a long shot.
Yeah.
That was probably one of the fastest wearing discs that we've seen or
It's
used.
also the thinnest one we've ever used.
So again, in that situation. And then we just wanted to pump back into the Bosch again, as we said in our last grinder one. That one still was the king, and in this comparison here, it worked out well. Now, in the last video, I put a link in the description for the Bosch disc, and I'm gonna do the same here, but know that you can find these discs cheaper because the link I'm putting in has free shipping. So they're not overly expensive discs.
No.
The link that I have to show you what they are makes them look expensive. Beyond that, we did a little bit of grinding, which again was more of some testing to look at this red blinking light that seems to be our focal point of this tool.
Basically, we want you to know that don't let the red light deter you from buying this.
No, but I'm right with you. If it's blinking, I'm gonna look at it and say why.
Well, the more I used it, the less I paid attention to it because the grinder was still working just fine. I didn't notice a slowdown, anything.
They make paint brushes.
Yeah, exactly. We can put a sticker over it.
If there's something out there that bothers you. The slide switch on the top is very easy to use in a different position while you have to turn it on and then re-grip to a point. It does slide on, lock on, and turn
Very
off.
easy.
Very easy. So if you're interested in one of these tools and you're questioning, hey, is the Octane tool really worth the extra money from buying the Ridgid kits or the Gen 5X tools? Yeah, from what we've seen out of every single Octane tool to date, it rocks.
Yes, very definitely. Base it off of how much you're going to use your tools if you want to spend the extra money, but I definitely would.
And one thing that sticks out to me that I really liked about this tool, and I cannot say this about every single Ridgid tool that I've picked up, is the Ridgid Hex Grip in the back. Sometimes that feels a little fat to me. And on this tool, it was nice and skinny, and in fact, it is skinnier than the Milwaukee paddle switch version that we have that's very similar to this, and it shares a lot of the same parts, a similar adjustable guard and an arbor stop, but this tool actually feels more comfortable.
I agree with you on that.
But I like the skinnier grip of the grinders, and I really, really like the DeWalt FlexVolt grip, which is totally different than what you see on a lot of grinders. So that's my lean. Yours might be different. As always, we'd love to hear what you have to say in the comments. We'll do our best to respond. Know that some places where we're blowing dust in the other room, we have some very dust sensitive pieces of equipment in there, and we're trying to avoid throwing sparks on them. So you might see things thrown in different areas. Leave us comments on that. We still love to hear it, even if it's like, dude, what are you doing? We're doing a lot to try to get things on film to show you guys, and some things we have to do a little bit differently just so you can see it. But again, no offense in the comments. Call us out. Tell us what you think. We appreciate it. As always, we appreciate your time. Give us a like in this video. Subscribe to this channel. Have a great day.